for agreeing to the interview. I've actually tried to reach out to interview you before because
Oh,
I happened, probably a few little while ago, I found Enhanced and watched it. And and I thought, yeah, and if you want to find out more about this, like I remember, I just happened to find it on, I guess it's Level Film who did the distribution, so I just happened to find it on their site. So yeah, that's sort of what introduced me.
Enhanced.
Yeah,
Enhanced was Raven Banner.
okay, well, yeah. Then I sort of watched that, found obviously that there was another movie set in that world, which I thought was quite intriguing. I haven't managed to track it down yet, but I will be watching it. But anyway, let's get into Control. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So what made you decide to go down this sort of thriller horror route? I know you have a background in martial arts, shorts, and working in YouTube, and then making the move to feature films. So this seems to be a bit of a departure.
Yeah, a little bit. I wanted to try something that was a little bit more contained, a little bit more story driven as opposed to action driven. And that also worked within the confines of our budget, while still lending itself to have the ability to showcase, what we can also do on an action side. And yeah, I enjoy sci-fi and I enjoy thrillers, so um, that's how we landed on that genre, just out of pure personal interest.
Okay. So um, obviously this is a obviously this is a very contained production with four people. So how did you go about the casting process?
So with casting, so Sarah's a well-known working actress in the city, and obviously on Star Trek.
Yeah.
And she had been brought to my attention early on, by my producer, and I was already familiar with who she was. And we decided to see if she was interested in taking a read and coming on board, and thankfully she was. So we didn't have to go to look at other options after that. And with George, he's someone I've worked with on a number of projects,
Mhm.
and most recently, one was Enhanced. And I love working with George. We click. I think he's an incredible actor. He's done a lot of great stuff, and most recently had that great role on Mayor of Kingstown. And yeah, we just we work really well together, and we both love the process. So I really wanted to put him into that role and something different than what he kind of normally does, and that's how we casted our two main leads.
Okay. That's great. So yeah, obviously you did mention about the sort of working within the restraints of a budget, and I think you did amazing here. Um, just the feel of that room was it's just that gentle creep that just feels so restricted in there. And just little touches, like I can remember one point where she sort I think she's just sort of got out restraint for the first time and she touches it and she gets burned by the light. And we have no idea why she gets burned by it, but this little touch like that make you go, yeah, this is incredibly dangerous. And
Mm,
so like you instantly think, oh boy, she's in a lot of trouble.
mm,
I just like the way you bring that. It reminds me a bit of in terms of how you use the limited budget and the limited shooting areas of a sci-fi short called Red String of Fate, which we recently talked about, which is sci-fi of a different type, more of a tells a love story, but it is just
okay.
in one room and it's just two people talking to each other, and it's has that same sort of feel. So let me just move the thing. So what I would like to ask you, as I think you're probably best placed to know, what do you think the current state of Canadian filmmaking is? And I would say, I say maybe, and I say, um, sort of at a working directors or working actors level.
Sorry, what do you mean? What do you mean by the
So
current
I think,
state?
do you think it's going in the right direction? Do you think that there's too many restrictions that you can't get the projects that you want to do, that there's not enough help for you? Or do you think things
I
are
think
opening up? I don't know.
I think it's all relative,
Mhm.
really. There's a lot of support in Canada. There's a lot of funding. There's a lot of grants. So I haven't kind of gone down that road myself personally in terms of tapping into the telefilm system. But you have to keep in mind, like Canada is also, even though the size of it is quite vast, we are a small country population wise. We don't have a huge market here, and Canadian films aren't looked at exactly the same as, like, let's say a Hollywood film, even though it might be comparative. And in the US they have 10 times the amount of people and a much bigger market to sell these films. And I think that allows the financing of independent films to be a little bit different than in Canada. So I wouldn't say Canadian filmmaking is heading in a bad direction. It's different. Like we're a different country, different entity.
Mhm.
There's a lot of support, especially if you just want to get started. But it really depends what route you take. Like myself personally, it's completely independent outside of our tax credit system. Other people, they really utilize the support of government bodies and telefilm and this and that, which is great, that we have that ability. So
Okay, so let's say obviously you come from a background in making shorts, working with YouTube, working with your brother. Um, I I wonder, when do you think that stunt performers will get their proper respect? When
when do I think what? Sorry.
when do you think that stunt performers will get their proper respect? I feel that they're sort of the afterthought often. We still see major awards events listing them as a category, which I think is just, to me, just seems crazy. Yeah,
That it's not a category.
yeah.
Well, I think definitely over the last few years, stunt performers are becoming more and more recognized, especially as celebrities are speaking out a lot more about how involved stunt performers and coordinators and fight choreographers are in the production, how big of a role they play in those genre films. So I think, and with the popularity of streaming services like YouTube, you're able to see all the behind the scenes now of basically every movie that has crazy stunts in it. So I definitely think there's a much larger appreciation for it now, or that people are more aware of it than they were before. I'm torn on the whole awards thing, awards are great, and for me, I'm indifferent either way, whether they decide to give awards to stunt people or not. It could be good, it could be bad,
Yeah, I was also wishing that is that, like for instance, I don't necessarily go. I don't really care much about the major awards, but at the same time, then here as I write this for my site is Hollywood North News. I find a lot of films through going through online film festivals, and a major point of them is handing out awards at the end, and that's what can bring little shorts. I've watched a 10-minute short about a Chinatown in San Francisco, and there's no way I'd find that on Netflix in the month of Sundays, or it would or be anywhere near a cinema near me. So I think, so I obviously know that awards come with its own problems, comes with substantial baggage, but I think there is good there as well. See, yes,
Well, yeah, and outside the baggage, I know this is, completely off topic of, the movie itself, Control, but outside of the baggage, like you could potentially have awards for stunts, which pushes people to one up,
mhm.
the next film and one up the next film and one up the next film, and could potentially be dangerous as well.
Oh,
That's
yes.
sort of like the flip side argument that I think a lot of people are having. So that's partially why I'm
Okay,
torn on that sort
I
of
can
subject.
understand that. I can
Yeah.
understand that. Okay. That is something to think about. Okay, so now I have just some questions about the sort of film in universe. Um, what is whoever they are? What are they doing with all those psychic people? Because they've obviously got that's quite an operation they have there, and so it seems very set. By sort of looking at it, it's like, is it a government? Is it a corporation? What do they need those people for?
Yeah, we never really actually even revealed that there is more than one Eileen. We only really showed that she was the only person. There could be other people in there. We didn't reveal that, or
Yeah, I sort of took it because it was just a feel.
yeah,
It's just a feel of the operation. It didn't seem that was the first time
yeah. No, and it
for
wasn't.
them.
Excuse me. Yeah, it's sort of indicated at the end of the film that she's been through this test
Mhm.
without giving it away, but I guess kind of give it away many times. So, but yeah, that organization, we kind of saved the backstory around. If people kind of like this film, then maybe we'll spin it off and
Mhm.
show what it actually is. But we wanted to focus mainly on Eileen's journey
Mhm.
and not so much the people putting her in that
Yeah.
situation.
Okay, so you talk about a region. It's a very interesting one because it's not the traditional sort of even superhero thriller, or I know, for instance, she's not being chased by like a faceless killer or an evil or it's because she sort of starts, and it was something that clicked on me quite early is that very early I sort of realized she doesn't know who she is, even sort of like just after seeing her first sort of memory. And
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how you did it. I'm very impressed, but I could feel that even before she sort of starts voicing it, that's like this person, she doesn't know who she is. She's just about okay talking and stuff, but there isn't a lot, there isn't anything else there in her memory, just the way that she reacts to things. And so that's a very interesting journey, which you obviously don't really see someone going from truly a blank slate into something more, which is I think it's a very interesting sort of choice here. It was well. So why did you decide to go with that? Go with the almost blank slate for her?
Like, why does she have amnesia?
Yeah, as a choice more than obviously I know why within the sort of things.
Well, the main reason is kind of revealed at the
Mhm.
very end of the movie, right? Why she has amnesia, because if she didn't have amnesia, then that cycle kind of wouldn't work at all.
Okay, yeah, that's that. Yeah. So what? Who do you? Sorry. Who after watching this? What do you think? What's the sort of thoughts you might think that'll come out of this? What sort of questions would you, not necessarily hope, but be interested? What sort of questions would people be asking at the end of it? Because obviously I was very entertained by it, but there's a sense of despair that sort of comes through. I think probably once we've gone through a few experiments, and you see in the experiments, it's like, okay, she's getting better at things, but also to say, but yeah, but they can just sort of turn her off with the thought. So I don't really, and like they sort of say, you can see your daughter, but they don't necessarily say we're going to let you go and send you off into the sunset. So you just it's that I don't sense of dread about where this might go
Mhm.
happens quite early on in the film, and it just we still got to watch because you still want to say, yeah, I wanted to get better. So it's an interesting dichotomy there, because there aren't that many knowns in it. It's not the same as I mentioned before. It's not like someone. It's not like a woman running away from the killer and you know what can happen. It's one or two things. She gets away, she dies. But this is like we don't know why she's here. We don't even know who she is, so we don't know what's going to happen next. So I think it leaves the viewer sort of off kilter all the way through, which I think is a nice step.
Yeah, and I think short answer is like she's kind of nobody, and she's just another person, and yeah, like she's trapped in this room, and she's just like you said, she's not being chased by someone. She's really battling internal demons, right? In a very repetitive manner. Like she just has to keep going through the same sort of motions over and over again, and then yeah, they're subtly different, or there's a different person there, or a different object there, or something else has to go there, but the same sort of internal demons, which relate back to, I guess, the title and the theme of Control are there with her, right up till the end, where she realizes, she needs to make a decision, to sort of, end this nightmare. And her decision, is again, without giving it away, a bit of a paradox in itself, because she decides to go with the very thing that's haunting her, which I think is relatable to some people. So I think some people, might get that, some people won't, and might find the end to be a little not their cup of tea. And I think that's also interesting too.
I think I don't know. I feel, especially a move like this, you feel like I think it's sort of my ongoing issue with films that I've learned to start to embrace the journey of films and not just anticipate the endings, because obviously because you directors, right, you do amazing things, but there's only so much someone could do in 1.5 hours and 2 hours if if everybody's gonna be told at once. So yeah, pushing back to sort of like your background.
Yeah.
I could remember back probably, yeah, early 2000s. There was this thing where every show was all multimedia, all media. So I can remember a show. I don't know if you remember Defiance, which is just a show on Sci-Fi. So it had the video game, it had the TV show, and it had all sorts of things. Have you ever thought about maybe going something like that with enhanced and its overall thing? I think the scope is there, and I think now we're in a lot better place than we were then, for smaller things to do. Whereas before, obviously, it's easy for a major studio to greenlight a hugely expensive sci-fi show along with a video game that's right next to it.
So are you asking if I have interest in turning Enhanced into a television series?
Not necessarily just television series, we can any sort of multimedia thing, whether it's shorts, comics. I don't know.
I never really thought about it, to be honest. Maybe one day, right now I enjoy making indies. Like, it's a lot of fun. It's pretty rewarding. I haven't thought about expanding beyond that just yet.
Okay.
I think I gotta do one that gets knocked out of the park at least, or at least gets to third base before I think about going beyond that scope.
Okay, so then finally, or you like to ask everyone who comes on, do you have a favorite Canadian-made film and TV show that you like to recommend to our fans?
Yeah, my favorite Canadian film is Incendie. Famous movie.
Mhm.
And my favorite Canadian television show. It's probably Trailer Park Boys.
There's nothing wrong with that. It's a seminal
No.
one. I think that's probably.
Pretty sure that's Canadian, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
it's probably very. I think it's a lot more popular than you might think.
Yeah.
So anyway, I'd like to thank you again for joining us here on Hollywood North News.
Yeah.
And it
Thank
was
you.
really fun talking, and I
Yeah.
had a lot of fun watching Control.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Great.